I'm going to call the meeting to order and let the record show that it is 10 o'clock. And can we have the public notice statement, Ada, please?
Thank you, Mr. President, and good morning, everyone. Adequate public notice has been given pursuant to the Open Publics Meeting Act. Notice has been posted at the board's office and website, emailed to the Department of State, and to newspapers of broad circulation within the state.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Holden,
Here.
Commissioner Solomon,
Here.
Commissioner Chivukula,
Here.
Commissioner Gordon,
Here.
President Fiordaliso.
Here. And our next meeting, Ada, will be?
Our next regular board meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, April 7, 2021 at 10 a.m. via teleconference with details to follow.
Okay, thank you very much. We are going to have an executive session today. The board will be addressing the clean energy item G in the matter of the approval of a contract between Rutgers University, Department of Marine and Coastal Services, and the New Jersey Board of Public Utilities, Office of Clean Energy. We will be taking action on this item when we come back from executive session. I would estimate that executive session will last about 15 minutes. Will the Attorney General's office please read the justification for going into executive session?
Yes, good morning, Mr.
Good
President
morning.
and Commissioners. Clean energy item G falls within the contract negotiation and attorney-client privilege exceptions to the Open Public Meetings Act. These exceptions are found at New Jersey Statute 10:4-12B7.
Thank you very much. Do I have a motion to go into executive session?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. We'll see you in executive session. in open session. I see Commissioners Gordon, Solomon, Holden, Commissioner Chivukula. There he is up there. Okay. We did our business in executive session, and we're ready for our regular session agenda. Before our next meeting, 2 holidays are going to occur, and I just wanted to wish everyone a very happy Passover and a very happy Easter. Passover, I believe, is this Sunday, the 25th, and Easter is
Saturday night.
Saturday night. Right. And Easter is Sunday, April 4. So wish you all who are celebrating holidays a wonderful holiday.
And cooking.
And cooking.
I have no kitchen, no cooking.
I'll be thinking of you, Commissioner, while you cook. We have had a number of meetings with the new FERC commissioners and the old FERC commissioners. And I think everyone is pretty optimistic with the new composition of FERC, and something that is going to be, I hope, beneficial to the state of New Jersey. And we will continue to stay in contact with them, particularly regarding the MOPR, which can be devastating or have the potential of being devastating to our clean energy program. So we're going to stay on top of that, and we will continue to monitor the situation with them. Do any other commissioners have any opening remarks?
Mr. President?
Mr. Gordon?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Yes, I would like to make a comment. In the last couple of weeks, we held a hearing regarding issues with the services provided by Altice. That hearing was chaired by Commissioner Holden, who I thought did a superb job. And I found the hearing very revealing. In fact, I think anyone who listened to it would be outraged by the number of people who spoke and the vehemence of their comments about the poor quality of service offered by Altice and the challenges of just trying to get problems rectified through their customer service operation. One gets the impression that the Altice business model is founded in part on customer abuse. I know that's a strong thing to say, but I just must say I was taken aback by the poor quality of service that was described by so many people. My first inclination was that this board should try to rescind the franchise, but practically speaking, that's not an option for us. But from what I understand, we do have the option of exploring penalties and using financial incentives to compel the kind of service that Altice is contractually obligated to provide. And so I would simply urge staff and my colleagues to explore just what our options are so that we can improve the level of service that's needed in the state. If new legislation is required, I think we should explore that option as well. I would have to believe that the governor would want to do something about this. I think he would be a hero in so many households if he could, if we could address this problem. So, I just urge my colleagues to put this on our agenda and let's explore what the options are, because this is something that affects so many people in our state.
Thank you, Commissioner, for bringing that up. And yes, I concur. Commissioner Holden ran a very lengthy and comprehensive hearing and handled it very, very well. And thank you, Commissioner.
Mr. President, this is Paul.
Yes.
I just wanted to mention that in light of Commissioner Gordon's comments, staff has already scheduled an internal meeting to discuss this issue, and we will be coming back to the board with some recommendations on what additional steps can be taken for the board to determine that. So we're in the process of doing that. We're kind of going through the various comments, and as the commissioner mentioned, there were a number of them. I think we're 300 people or so signed up. So we're kind of putting them in various categories, and then we will come back to the board with a recommendation on some future action.
Good, thank you, Paul. I was just going to
Thank
mention
you.
that to the commissioner, that steps are being taken, and staff was exploring a variety of different options that we have. Because I think, Bob, what you said, that it was appalling to hear some of these stories. I think we all reacted in the same fashion.
Yeah.
And people, we've always said as a board, all we want is people to get what they pay for.
Right.
We're not asking for people to get more, but we don't want people to get less either. So this is something that will be followed through. So thank you. And thank you, Commissioner Holden.
Thank you.
I just would like to pile on and say that, I think for most of us, we think, gee, is it just me that has these problems? And the consistency in the complaints that were made were just astounding. And what we're not seeing in the public hearing is all of the many letters and correspondence that has also been sent to the board. And we urge them to send it to the board so we have a comprehensive record. But I'm glad we're really attacking this, because this is an unregulated monopoly in essence.
Good. Any other opening remarks by anyone? Okay, the consent agenda, Ada, please.
Mr. President, before we move on to the consent agenda, I was just wondering the status of the two energy efficiency matters in clean energy.
Yes.
Um,
I know something has been deferred. I was going to do the consent agenda first.
Okay, all right. On the following consent agenda items, 1A, 2A, 4A, and approval of the minutes for the January 27 and February 11, 2021 agenda meetings.
So moved.
Second.
Well, roll call.
Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Chivukula,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
President Fiordaliso.
Yes. And as Ada indicated, there is going to be a deferment on a couple of energy efficiency items. And what numbers are they, or what number are they, Ada?
There are agenda items 8J and 8K.
8J and 8K will be deferred until a future meeting. 8J and 8K. Okay. All righty. That brings us to audits. Alice? One A.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning, Alice.
Here I am. Before you this morning is agenda item 1A involving a registrant who failed to comply with certain provisions of NJSA 48:3-78 except and the New Jersey Administrative Code NJAC 14:4-1.1 except at United Energy Insights LLC, doing business as United Energy Consultants, continued to operate as a registrant after their registration expired due to not filing a renewal application prior to their registration expiration date. In order to resolve this matter of the violation, United Energy Insights, doing business as United Energy Consultants, filed an offer of settlement in the amount of $3,800 with the board for approval. In addition, United Energy Consultants filed an initial application to be an energy agent for approval. This agenda item before you involves two separate matters on which you will vote. Staff believes that the offer of settlement is reasonable based upon the alleged violations for the company and recommends that the board accept the offer of settlement co-offered by United Energy Consultants, subject to the conditions set forth in the respective settlement offers and draft orders. Given that there are no investigations pending with regard to United Energy Insights doing business as United Energy Consultants service being provided in New Jersey, staff recommends that the board approve the initial registration application for United Energy Insights to be an energy agent.
Okay, I move the approval of the settlement of United Energy Insights.
Second.
Questions, comments? Roll call, Ada.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation to accept United Energy Insights LLC doing business as United Energy Consultants offer a settlement. Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Chivukula,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
President Fiordaliso.
Yes.
I'll now move,
I'm sorry.
I'll now move the initial application of United Energy Insights LLC.
Second.
Questions, comments? Roll call.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation to accept United Energy Insights LLC doing business as energy consultants initial application. Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Chivukula,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
President Fiordaliso.
Yes. Thank you, Alice.
Thank you very much. Have a great day.
You too. That brings us to Energy and Ms. Peterson.
Good morning, Commissioners. Agenda item 2A relates to a July 2020 petition filed by ACE seeking approval of the sale of spare transmission power transformers and other equipment resulting from ACE's participation in the Agreement for Regional Equipment Sharing for Transmission Outage Restoration, or RESTORE. In the petition, ACE also sought confirmation that any sales of transformers and other equipment by ACE under the agreement are compliant with the board's affiliate relations standards. According to ACE, the agreement will ensure system reliability by eliminating long lead times normally associated with manufacturing and acquiring transformers. Per the agreement, a buyer will pay to the seller the replacement cost or net book value of the equipment at the seller's option, plus equipment preparation and transportation costs and taxes. Additionally, each participant must maintain a certain amount of spare equipment for each equipment class in which it participates and designate such equipment as being subject to being sold to other participating utilities upon the occurrence of a triggering event. According to the petition, there are no fees to be a member of RESTORE. Rate Counsel has filed comments indicating that it did not object to the sale of spare transmission transformers and other transmission-related equipment by ACE pursuant to the agreement. Additionally, Rate Counsel did not object to the board's finding that such sales are in compliance with the board's affiliate relations standards. However, Rate Counsel requested that board approval be conditioned upon certain provisions. Reply comments were also received from ACE. Staff recommends the board issue an order approving ACE's request, subject to certain conditions set forth in the draft board order. Additionally, staff recommends a waiver of the applicability of NJAC 14:1-5.6 to transfers made pursuant to the RESTORE agreement.
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments for Stacy? Roll call.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
yes,
Commissioner Chivukula,
yes,
Commissioner Gordon,
yes,
President Fiordaliso.
Yes. I'm sorry, 2B also has to do with ACE. Stacy?
Correct. On November 2nd, Atlantic City Electric filed a petition seeking review and approval of the capital investments related to the company's Power Ahead program that were placed into service from July 2020 through December 2020. In the petition, ACE sought to recover a revenue requirement of approximately 1.1 million based on actual information through September 2020. The company has provided a subsequent update to provide actual information through December 2020, which supports a revenue requirement of 1.063 million. The parties have executed a stipulation that would allow the company to recover the updated revenue requirement. As a result of the stipulation, a typical residential customer will see a monthly increase of 11 cents. Staff recommends the board issue an order approving the stipulation and directing ACE to file revised tariffs by April 1st.
So moved.
second,
Questions, comments? Roll call, Ada, please.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
yes,
Commissioner Chivukula,
yes,
Commissioner Gordon,
yes,
President Fiordaliso.
Yes. And 2C, another ACE matter. Stacy?
Going for 3 here.
All right.
On November 2nd, ACE filed a petition seeking review and approval of cost recovery associated with its infrastructure investment program. Based upon actual information through September and estimated expenditures through December 2020, the company sought approval to recover a revenue requirement of approximately 1.978 million related to the IIP investments. In January, the company provided an update to include actual expenditures through December, reflecting an increase in the proposed revenue requirement to 2.312 million. The parties have executed a stipulation that would allow the company to recover the updated revenue requirement. As a result of the stipulation, a typical residential customer will see a monthly increase of approximately 25 cents. Staff recommends the board issue an order adopting the stipulation and directing ACE to file revised tariffs by April 1st.
So moved.
second,
Questions, comments? Roll call, Ada?
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
yes,
Commissioner Chivukula,
yes,
Commissioner Gordon,
yes,
President Fiordaliso.
Yes. 2D, E-Town Gas.
Correct. On July 31st, 2020, Elizabethtown Gas filed a petition seeking review and approval of the company's manufactured gas plant remediation adjustment clause activities and net manufactured gas plant costs incurred between July 2019 and June 2020. Based on the net rack period cost and the amortization of previous rack period expenditures, the company proposed to decrease its rack recoveries and rate to recover a revenue requirement of approximately 3.9 million over a 12-month period. The parties have executed a stipulation that would allow Elizabethtown to revise its rack rate as proposed. As a result of the stipulation, a typical residential customer will see a decrease in their monthly bill of 67 cents. Staff recommends the board issue an order approving the stipulation and directing Elizabethtown to file revised tariffs by April 1st.
So moved.
second,
Questions, comments? Roll call, Ada?
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
yes,
Commissioner Chivukula,
yes,
Commissioner Gordon,
yes,
President Fiordaliso.
Yes. And 2F, South Jersey Gas.
On June 1st, 2020, South Jersey Gas filed a petition seeking approval to modify its Rider H rate related to the return of excess deferred income taxes. In the petition, South Jersey proposed to implement an increase in the per therm Rider H credit. In September 2020, the board authorized South Jersey to provisionally implement the proposed Rider H credit. As a result of the September 2020 provisional order and certain adjustments based on the board's order in South Jersey's 2020 base rate case, the anticipated bill impact on a typical residential customer was a monthly decrease of $1.09. The parties have now executed a stipulation for final rates. As a result of the stipulation, customers will see no further bill impacts. Staff recommends the board issue an order adopting the stipulation and directing South Jersey to file revised tariffs by April 1st.
So moved.
second,
Questions, comments?
Yes, Stacy, is this the last of this Tax Cuts and Jobs Act issue?
No, each utility that was approved, they had separate approved plans. I believe South Jersey's was 5 years. It was either 3 or 5 years. So there's still some additional filings that will need to be made to finalize the
Thank you.
tax credits.
Any other questions or comments? Roll call, Ada?
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
yes,
Commissioner Chivukula,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
President Fiordaliso.
Yes. Thank you, Stacy.
Thank you. Have a good afternoon.
You too. No items for consideration under cable. Telecommunications, Lawanda, 4A. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. Item 4A involves a petition filed by Verizon New Jersey in May of last year seeking approval to remove certain metrics which measure Verizon's provision of service to competitive local exchange carriers, or CLECs, known as carrier-to-carrier or C2C guidelines. These metrics were implemented following the passage of the Federal 1996 Telecommunications Act as a vehicle to measure Verizon's provision of service to CLECs using their systems to provide service, and to ensure Verizon's provision of service to the CLECs was on par with its provision of service to its own customers. Verizon seeks the removal of 5 of these metrics, arguing that they have outlived their usefulness and are no longer necessary due to changes in the market and the interactions between the CLECs and Verizon. Staff requested comments from the affected CLECs on Verizon's request and received comments from only 4 of the carriers on 3 of the proposed metrics, arguing that they should be maintained because they are still needed, as evidenced by certain complaints alleged by the providers with Verizon's services. Rate Counsel also filed comments stating that while they did not object to deletion of 2 of the billing metrics, that it recommended the board affirm its continuing jurisdiction and statutory authority to investigate CLEC complaints connected to billing, and if found warranted, reimpose or impose new measures. Verizon filed reply comments refuting the recommendations of the CLECs and Rate Counsel that the metrics be maintained, however, offering a compromise that should the board seek to maintain the metrics, that they should be removed from the incentive plan. The incentive plan represents the companion to the C2C metrics, which provides for Verizon to issue service credits to CLECs when the metrics are not met. Verizon argues that the metrics should be removed from the incentive plan should the board wish to keep them. Based upon staff's review of the record developed in this matter, we are recommending that the metrics which the parties did not object to should be deleted from the C2C guidelines. Based on a thorough review of the record and the comments received, staff recommends the removal of the BI-4-01 DUF accuracy and BI-5-01 accuracy of mechanized bill feed metrics. With respect to the remaining metrics, staff does not believe that it is appropriate to delete them at this time. However, staff does agree with Verizon's recommendation in its reply comments and will eliminate the performance standards under the incentive plan for these metrics. Going forward, Verizon and the board will initiate a process with the collaboration of Verizon, CLEX, and other interested parties to adjust these three metrics and standards to achieve the purpose and goals intended under the carrier-to-carrier guidelines and the incentive plan. With that, board staff recommends approval of staff's recommendation.
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments?
Yeah, Mr. President. Lavonda, one question I have is that you mentioned Verizon. What about CenturyLink? CenturyLink also has CLEX, right?
CenturyLink does have CLEX, but Verizon is the only party that I believe has the carrier-to-carrier guidelines and the incentive plan under the carrier working group.
Oh. So we're not removing.
The carrier working group was initiated following the passage of the 96 Act and provides the basis for the establishment of the carrier-to-carrier guidelines, and it actually encompasses the states along Verizon's Northeast footprint. So it covers New Jersey, Pennsylvania, New York, and several other states. And the two metrics that we are deleting are actually only New Jersey specific, while the three metrics we're keeping are also used in Pennsylvania, but similar to Pennsylvania, they do not attach penalties to them under the incentive plan. So this recommendation would put us in the same position as they are in Pennsylvania right now.
Basically, the two you are deleting are the daily usage feed and the accuracy and mechanized bill feed.
That's correct.
Verizon's argument is that the wholesale market has declined quite a bit, and their retail, they have their own inside retail, and that comparable to what they're providing for CLEC. Is that the argument?
That is correct, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Roll call, please, Ada.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Chivukula,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
Yes.
President Fiordaliso.
It's my
Yes.
sound.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm sorry. I got disconnected there somehow. Sorry. That brings us to water. Michael,
Yes, good morning, Commissioners.
good morning.
The matter before you today is Middlesex Water Company's annual purchased water adjustment clause filing. On December 19th, 2020, Middlesex Water Company filed a petition seeking to increase its purchased water adjustment clause, or PWAC, by approximately $489,000 pursuant to NJAC 14:9-7.1 et sec. The matter was transmitted to the Office of Administrative Law on November 23rd, 2020, and was assigned to ALJ Jacob Gertzman. After proper notice, Judge Gertzman provided over two virtual public hearings, one at 4:30 p.m. and one at 5:30 p.m. on January 12th, 2021. No members of the public appeared or provided comments on the proposed PWAC filing. Subsequent to the public hearings and prior to the scheduled evidentiary hearings, representatives of petitioner, the Division of Rate Counsel, and board staff entered into a stipulation of settlement that resolved all outstanding matters that arose during the course of the proceeding. The stipulation agrees that Middlesex's PWAC should be increased by approximately $456,000. As a result of this settlement, a residential customer with a 5/8 inch meter using 2,300 cubic feet or 17,000 gallons of water per quarter will see their water bill increase from $154.27 per quarter to $155.24 per quarter, which is an increase of approximately 97 cents per quarter or 0.63%. ALJ Gertzman issued an initial decision recommending that the board adopt the stipulation, and staff recommends that the board adopt the initial decision.
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments? Roll call, please, Ada.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Chivukula,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
President Fiordaliso.
Yes. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
There are no items under reliability and security. That brings us down to customer assistance. And Julie Ford, I bet it's a billing issue.
Good morning, commissioners.
Good morning.
Hi. The matter before you today involves a billing dispute between Sandeep Katyal and Middlesex Water Company. The petition was filed on October of 2019 and thereafter transmitted to the OAL and assigned to ALJ Judith Lieberman. In this petition, Mr. Katyal stated that he was wrongly billed by Middlesex Water in the amount of $1,994.61. He further stated there must be a meter-related issue. Middlesex Water, in its answer dated October 14th of 2019, contended Mr. Katyal failed to meet his burden of providing credible evidence of the inaccuracy of the amounts billed to him by the company as reflected in the February through May 2019 and May through August 2019 bills. Middlesex Water further contended that on an on-site inspection and meter test performed in Mr. Katyal's presence demonstrated that the amounts billed were accurate. The company requested that the lease sought be denied and also noted that Mr. Katyal did not dispute the accuracy of the meters. ALJ Lieberman, in her initial decision, noted that the meter was tested and the test indicated that the meter did not exceed the acceptable limits of accuracy. ALJ Lieberman concluded that Middlesex Water followed proper procedures, inspected property and found no leaks, and the results of the meter test demonstrated that the meter was functioning properly. Accordingly, ALJ Lieberman concluded that Mr. Katyal failed to provide any competent evidence demonstrating a genuine issue of material fact. Therefore, the ALJ ruled that all relief sought by Mr. Katyal be denied and the petition be dismissed. Staff has completed the review of the record and the petition and recommends that the board accept the initial decision of ALJ Lieberman in this matter.
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments for Julie? Roll call, please, Ada.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Chivukula,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
President Fiordaliso.
Yes. Thank you, Julie.
You're welcome. Have a good one.
You too. That now brings us to clean energy, and we're obviously spending money because first up is Ben.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, Mr. President, commissioners, everyone
Good
listening.
morning, Ben.
Good morning. The first four items I'll present on all relate to different commercial and industrial applications over $500,000. Item 8A is for Verizon. Verizon submitted an application under the fiscal year FY20 Large Energy Users Program requesting board approval of a financial incentive of $1,299,460.83 to upgrade the lighting at 30 different Verizon locations across New Jersey. The project has a total cost of $2,303,481.94. Verizon proposes to upgrade the lighting at 30 of their telephone network facilities located in New Jersey. The buildings currently have a mix of CFL, incandescent, metal halide, and linear fluorescent light fixtures and lamps. The existing lighting will be removed and replaced entirely with LED fixtures and lamps. Annually, the project would conserve 3,937,760 kilowatt hours of electricity and reduce peak electric demand by an anticipated 827.28 kilowatts. The proposed project would also result in estimated annual energy cost savings of $457,186.05, as well as additional operational and maintenance savings of $28,123.90. The payback period without incentives is 4.75 years, and when factoring in the incentives, the payback period is reduced to 2.07 years. Staff recommends approval of the application for the total estimated incentive amount.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Any questions or comments for Ben on 8A? Roll call, please, Ada.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Chivukula,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
President Fiordaliso.
Yes. All right, 8B, Ben?
Sure. Okay. Item 8B is another CNI over $500,000. The West Windsor Plainsboro Board of Education submitted an application under the Pay for Performance Existing Buildings Program, requesting board approval of a financial incentive of $762,415.65. This incentive would help fund the installation of energy conservation measures, also known as ECMs, at the West Windsor Plainsboro High School North in Plainsboro, New Jersey. The proposed project has a total cost of $10,261,111.81. The proposed ECMs are comprehensive and incorporate several energy efficient technologies. The school's existing boiler and absorption chillers will be replaced with several new, highly efficient models with variable speed pumps. New rooftop units will also be installed, and these units will be scheduled to run at different speeds during occupied and unoccupied hours. High efficiency transformers will be installed as well, as will energy recovery HVAC units that will also be optimized to run based on building occupancy. Finally, the school's interior and exterior lighting will be retrofitted with LEDs and occupancy sensors. Annually, this project is anticipated to conserve 458,355 kilowatt hours of electricity and 107,355 therms of natural gas. The proposed project has an estimated annual energy cost savings of $147,591. The payback period without incentives is 69.5 years, and when factoring in the incentives, the payback period is reduced to 64.25 years. While the payback period here is longer than is typical for applications that staff recommends for approval, staff believes that the project is still worthwhile and should be approved, most notably because the project ECMs are part of a larger Energy Savings Improvement Program, or ESIP, application. Government facilities such as K-12 public schools may pursue large-scale capital improvement projects through ESIP that are paid for by the value of the project's future energy savings. The scope of the ESIP project must result in a positive cash flow and meet payback requirements of no more than 15 years for most projects, or no more than 20 years for projects with a combined heat and power component. While this particular energy efficiency application shows an unusually lengthy payback period due to the high upfront cost of some of the proposed measures, the larger ESIP project itself will result in a positive overall cash flow to the West Windsor Plainsboro Board of Education over the 20-year payback period, while also resulting in significant energy savings. And this ESIP does include a CHP component, or combined heat and power component, so the payback period is 20 years. Staff views this project as representative of the type of comprehensive project that the board typically incentivizes through the Pay for Performance Existing Buildings Program, and recommends approval of the related application.
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments for Ben?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. Ben, I just have a question. This grant is provided in 3 incentives. So this first one is 24,000 almost, 24. The second one is 369,000. Third one is 369,000. Is that typical? I mean, why the incentive is provided in 3 different incentives?
Sure. Yeah, so for the Pay for Performance program, they're always dispersed in 3 different parts. The first incentive payment, incentive number 1, is for the purchase of the energy efficient equipment. You get incentive number 2 when all the ECMs have been installed, and you get incentive number 3 after a year of data collection in EM&V that will actually show that the project saved as much energy as you thought it did, or thought it would. So that's very typical for pay for performance. That's how all pay for performance applications work.
Which check for the performance after for the first 2 or 3 years, or through the life?
Yeah, it's for the first year. You have to get 1 year's worth or 12 months worth of energy efficiency data, and do all the calculations there to show that the project is saving the amount of energy that was anticipated, and then the incentive that you get for incentive number 3 will depend on meeting that goal and that target.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Any other questions or comments for Ben? Roll call, please, Ada.
The motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Chivukula,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
President Fiordaliso.
Yes. 2C, Plainsboro High School.
Sure. Okay, not submitted. The West Windsor Plainsboro Board of Education submitted an application under the Pay for Performance Existing Buildings Program requesting board approval of a financial incentive of $799,429.91 to install energy conservation measures, or ECMs, at the West Windsor Plainsboro High School South, which is located in Princeton Junction, New Jersey. The proposed project has a total cost of $12,282,061.22. The proposed ECMs are comprehensive and incorporate several energy efficiency technologies. The Board of Education here aims to install new high-efficiency air-cooled chillers and a condensing boiler, as well as new highly efficient air handling units and transformers. The application also includes new HVAC motors with variable frequency drives, or VFDs, and HVAC controls to optimize heating and cooling efficiency, with hot and cold water pumps being retrofitted with VFDs as well. Additionally, the school's lighting will be retrofitted with interior and exterior LEDs, and the interior lights will have controls as well. Finally, a building management system would be installed to give school staff even greater control over the school's energy usage, linking the new HVAC and lighting controls in one place for maximum efficiency. Annually, this project is anticipated to conserve 1,749,549 kilowatt hours of electricity and 1,783 therms of natural gas. The project will also reduce peak demand by an anticipated 464 kilowatts per year. The proposed project has an estimated annual energy cost savings of $206,952 as well. The payback period here without incentives is 59 years, and when factoring in the incentive, the payback period is reduced to 55. And while the payback period here is longer than is typical for applications that staff recommends for approval, staff believes the project is still worthwhile and should be approved for the same reasons as outlined in the previous item. This project is part of the same exact ESIP as item 8B and will be encompassed by the same 20-year payback period as that item. As such, staff recommends approval of this application for the total estimated incentive amount.
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments for Ben? Roll call, please, Ada.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. I'm sorry, I was getting muted. Yeah, Ben, I was just looking at that West Windsor Plainsboro, their study, and they have certain aspects they have not included, like combined heat and power and electric vehicle charging stations. I mean, is that just because of the program limitations, or they just didn't think that they were ready for it,
Well, every ESIP and every application is different. Different school districts or whatever other entity is eligible to apply might think they need different things or different technologies at one time. I'm not really sure why they didn't include EV chargers or anything, but I know that as part of the ESIP overall, there is a combined heat and power component, which will, as I mentioned in the previous item, is the reason that they're eligible for the 20-year payback period through this ESIP. They still include a lot of different energy efficiency technologies, and will save a great deal of money both for the school district and for the state as a whole, as well as saving a great deal of energy. So we still think it's a worthwhile project.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Any other questions or comments for Ben? Roll call, please, Ada.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Chivukula,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
President Fiordaliso.
Yes. Thank you, Ben. And let's go to 8D, Ben, and I am recusing myself from item 8D. And I believe Commissioner Gordon, you are too.
Yes, I was about to say I need to recuse myself from 8D. Thank you.
All right. Commissioner Chivukula, can you take the helm for 8D, please?
Thank you, Mr. President. Yeah, 8D. Yeah, please go ahead. Yeah. Who's the?
Okay. So item 8D.
Yeah.
This is for Merck, and Merck submitted an application under the Large Energy Users Program requesting board approval of a financial incentive of $1,421,988.06, the installation of ECMs at 2 buildings at their Rahway, New Jersey campus. This proposed project has a total cost of $2,894,834. If approved, this application would cover ECMs at 2 different Merck buildings at their Rahway campus, Building 800 and Building 75G. At Building 800, the existing fume hoods in 20 different labs will have additional sensors installed to further reduce exhaust rate to a lower level when researchers are not present near the fume hoods. This will ensure the fume hoods use less conditioned air while maintaining safety requirements. Additionally, variable frequency drives, or VFDs, will be installed on laboratory exhaust fans to match operation with ventilation need. Sensors will also be added to the exhaust system to sample exhaust air quality and ensure energy usage is optimized. Finally, numerous HVAC controls will be installed to allow for greater control over the system's supply temperatures and operations, leading to more efficient heating, cooling, airflow, and hot water heating throughout the building. At Building 75G, VFDs will be installed on existing boilers to allow the fan speed to match the system load, and the existing motors will be replaced with VFD-compatible upgrades. On an annual basis, this project would conserve 5,173,161 kilowatt hours of electricity and 122,339 therms of natural gas. It would also reduce peak demand by an anticipated 630.4 kilowatts per year. The proposed project has an estimated annual energy cost savings of $541,731.62, as well as additional operational and maintenance savings of $7,023. The payback period without incentives is 5.28 years, and when factoring in the incentives, the payback period would be reduced to 2.68 years. And staff recommends approval of the application for the total estimated incentive amount.
Thank you,
So
Ben.
moved. Oops.
Second.
Okay, Commissioner Holden moves it and Commissioner Solomon seconds it. And any questions or comments? I'd like to make a comment. I think it's a very good project. I think they have some old equipment and a lot of the boilers and their maintenance costs seem to be high. And so I think by installing the new equipment, I think they can reduce a lot of the operational maintenance costs, I think. Thank you, Ben. And Ada, roll call, please.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Chivukula.
Yes, and the motion carries.
Thank you
Mr.
very
President,
much.
you're back. You're back.
I'm back. Okay. Thank you very much, Commissioner. And that brings us to Ben. Thank you, by the way.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Did a lot of work here. 8E, Kelly, I think you're up on the budget.
Yes, good morning, Mr. President and Commissioners.
Good
This
morning.
matter addresses the proposed fiscal year 21 budget true-up, budget reallocations, and program changes to the New Jersey Clean Energy Program. The fiscal year 2021 clean energy programs and budgets were approved by the board on September 23rd, 2020. The budget was established in part based upon estimates of expenses expected to be incurred during the fiscal year 2020. Once actual expenses have become known on an annual basis, the board typically approves a true-up budget, reconciling the differences between the expenses estimated for the budgetary purposes and the expenses actually incurred. Consistent with that practice, and now that the expenses incurred during FY20 are known, staff makes today's recommendation. Based upon the actual expenditures, which were lower than projected, and additionally accrued interest and other revenues, there's an additional $31.1 million available for the New Jersey Clean Energy Program. Additionally, staff is proposing reallocating $24.1 million based on a current review of program forecasts and trends through the remainder of the fiscal year. Finally, staff is proposing several programmatic changes to those which were originally approved in FY21. On February 23rd, 2021, staff released a proposal for the draft true-up budget, revised budgets, and program revisions. Staff provided an informational summary of the proposed true-up budget reallocations, and program changes via a webinar on March 4th. Public comments were originally due on March 9th, but the comment period was extended until March 11th. Of the $31.1 million from FY20, staff recommends the available funds be distributed as follows: $15.4 million to state energy initiatives, $7.6 million to the commercial and industrial energy efficiency programs, $6 million going towards offshore wind, and $2 million to electric vehicles. In addition to the distribution of available funds, staff proposes reallocating $24 million among programs to align budgets with program performance. Of that, staff recommends the following increases: $2.5 million towards the residential retrofit program, an additional $11.1 million for commercial and industrial energy efficiency programs. In addition to the $6 million proposed for offshore wind, as previously mentioned, staff is recommending another $9.2 million be reallocated to this program. $275,000 towards memberships to be managed by the Board of Public Utilities, and moving $1 million from the electric vehicle administrative budget line to the incentive budget line. In consideration to timing and reviewing budget trends, as well as rebalancing funds where needed, staff also proposes the following reductions: $1.5 million from the residential new construction program, $2.1 million from the energy efficiency products program, $500,000 from the LGEA, that's local government energy audit program, $8 million from the direct install program, $1.2 million from the combined heat and power and fuel cell program, about $700,000 from the microgrid program, $1.5 million from the evaluation budget, $535,000 from the outreach budget managed currently by our program administrator, TRC, $7 million from energy storage, and as previously mentioned, $1 million from the electric vehicle administration budget. Staff proposes a reallocation within the Comfort Partners program budget amongst the previously approved allocations to each utility, while the total budget for Comfort Partners program will remain unchanged. The reallocation is being proposed as a result of the fluctuation of program demand in response to current participation rates. Along with these recommendations, staff updated the detailed budgets accordingly. Staff also recommends the following program changes. To the large energy users program, staff proposes adding a requirement of capping overall total energy savings for lighting at 50%. To the combined heat, power, fuel cell program, staff recommends redefining the categories of fuel cells from fuel cells with heat recovery versus fuel cells without heat recovery to efficiency levels of greater than or equal to 60% versus greater than or equal to 40% and lower fuel cells. Also, to the combined heat and power and fuel cells program, staff proposes adding flexibility to the time periods for which COVID-19 impacted participants must collect operating data in order to qualify for incentive number 3. To the Comfort Partners program, staff recommends a location-based pilot program that would grant automatic eligibility in 6 low-income neighborhoods equitably distributed geographically throughout the state. Finally, with this revisions, staff circulated the updated electric vehicle compliance filing, which reflects previously approved board changes to the program. Thus, staff recommends the board adopt and approve the proposed FY21 budget true-up, budget reallocations, and program changes to the New Jersey Clean Energy Program.
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments?
Thank you, Mr. President. Kelly, sometimes we fund some agencies like NJ Transit. Recently we did some send money for the bus depot, and we also wind related for the port. We sent some money. Are those things are in this budget? Are separate?
Yes, Commissioner, this reflects all of the modifications, changes, and recommended approvals, including there is a later item for the board's consideration for one of those similar transfers, and that is included within this budget to ensure that we have support within each of the budget line items to address any of those needs.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Roll call, please, Ada.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holton,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Chivukula,
Yes,
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
President Fiordaliso.
Yes. Thank you, Kelly. And that brings us to 8F, Stacy Richardson.
Hello,
There
President,
you are.
Commissioners.
Good morning.
Good morning. Staff is preparing to submit the 2021-2022 State Energy Program application to the U.S. Department of Energy. In the application, we would propose to continue the development and implementation of a series of programs at the same funding levels as last year. First, by way of background, the U.S. Department of Energy, or USDOE, provides federal financial assistance and technical support to states for energy programs through the State Energy Program, or SEP. To be eligible for financial assistance, a state must submit an annual application to the USDOE, executed by the governor or his or her designee. Using a formula designed by the USDOE, New Jersey is allocated federal monies each year in support of its USDOE-approved SEP. New Jersey's 2021 to 2022 SEP allocation is $1,474,770. New Jersey is required to match this amount either in cash, through in-kind contributions, or both, in an amount totaling not less than 20% of the federal allocation. The required match of 20%, or $294,954, will come from Clean Energy Program administrative costs associated with implementing the plan, including staff salaries associated with management of the plan. New Jersey will carry over $1,399,516.66 in federal funds and $279,903.33 in state match funds. The total budget for program year 2021 to 22, including carryover, is $2,874,286.66 in federal funds and $574,857.33 in state match funds. The programs that will be continued in the 2021 to 2022 SEP program are as follows. Incorporating health and safety measures into energy efficiency upgrades, which we plan to do through implementation of a whole house pilot program, which will start later this year. Developing a decarbonization roadmap to transition the building sector away from fossil fuels in a way that considers best practices, best available technologies, and affordability concerns. Undertaking a state energy and water benchmarking analysis and developing a roadmap to implement the Clean Energy Act's benchmarking requirement, which may include options to establish requirements, track and enforce compliance, and support the development of tools and systems for customers to easily access their consumption data from energy and water utilities. Extending energy efficiency offerings to residential and commercial customers who do not pay into the societal benefits charge and therefore do not otherwise qualify for state-funded EE programs, and supporting staff to participate in relevant training programs and conferences. Submitting this year's SEP application and obtaining acceptance for it from the USDOE will enable the BPU to continue its work in these important areas of integrating energy and health through a whole house approach, decarbonization of the building sector, and benchmarking energy and water use. Staff therefore requests the board's approval to submit this year's SEP application. Thank you.
So moved.
second.
Okay. Any questions or comments for Stacy?
Yeah, Mr. President, how, we have carried over from the previous year, Stacy, and how many years can you carry over? Is there a limit on that?
Well, we are in a 3-year cycle of this grant, this SEP grant. So I believe it has to be all contained within the 3 years.
3
so
years.
this would, yeah, so this would be the second year out of.
You're cutting out.
Oh, sorry. Oh.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Roll call, Ada?
And the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden,
Yes. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. That's too cool. I am not Commissioner Holden. Sorry, I withdraw.
Commissioner Holden, you're muted.
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Chivukula,
Yes, I wanted to be Commissioner Holden, but that's why I said yes. But now I will become myself. Yeah, Chivukula,
Okay.
yes.
Thank
Thank
you. Commissioner Gordon,
I don't blame you. Yes.
President Ferlisa.
Yes. Thank you, Stace. And that brings us to Kira. And
Morning,
this
Mr.
is,
President.
this is an item that we discussed in executive session. So the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, Commissioners. Since 2017, through support from the board, the Department of Marine and Coastal Sciences at Rutgers University has been conducting atmospheric research to evaluate offshore wind resources. The Department of Marine and Coastal Sciences, through Rutgers University Center for Ocean Observing Leadership, otherwise known as RU-COOL, has developed models capable of estimating and forecasting wind speeds off of New Jersey's coastline. Additionally, through its previous contracts with the board, RU-COOL has developed a coastal monitoring station to better understand New Jersey's wind resource and has engaged stakeholders in critical issues related to offshore wind development. The original contract with Rutgers Department of Marine and Coastal Sciences in 2017 has been amended each year rather than issuing a new contract. Board staff recommends that this approach continue. Before you is a proposed contract amendment between NJBPU and the Rutgers University Department of Marine and Coastal Sciences for the period from April 1, 2021 through June 30, 2022. This contract term extends for 15 months due to the desire to transition to a fiscal year contract. The current contract was extended for 3 months from January 1, 2021 to March 31, 2021. The contract amendment before you would provide funding for staffing, expertise, and resources necessary to carry RU-COOL's previous efforts forward and expand their scope. Activities for 2021 to 2022 would include continued support for the RU-WRF atmospheric modeling and coastal monitoring station work, an expansion of stakeholder engagement efforts, and the addition of a new ocean modeling element that will explore the interactions between offshore wind and the cold pool of the Mid-Atlantic Bight. As discussed in executive session, board staff recommends that the board approve the 2021-2022 contract amendment between Rutgers University Department of Marine and Coastal Sciences and NJBPU.
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments for Kira? This was fully discussed, as you indicate, Kira, in executive session. So hearing none. Ada, roll call, please.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Chivukula,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
President Ferlisa.
Yes. Thank you, Kira.
Thank you.
Jim Ferris, 8H, apparently has something to do with wind.
Good morning, Mr. President. Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
This item is in response to a joint petition filed by Ocean Wind LLC and PSEG Renewable Generation LLC on January 19th, 2021, seeking approval of PSEG Renewables acquisition of a 25% equity interest in the Ocean Wind 1100 megawatt qualified offshore wind project. As part of its initial application to the board in the first offshore wind solicitation, Ocean Wind stated that there was a memorandum of understanding between Ørsted North America, Inc., the owner of Ocean Wind LLC, and PSEG Renewable, by which PSEG Renewable had an option to acquire an equity interest in the proposed project. Excuse me. This petition formally requests the board's approval of that equity acquisition. The petition asserts that PSEG Renewable, subject to all applicable affiliate rules, will lead the development, permitting, and construction of the onshore portion of the project. The petition also asserts that PSEG Renewable will be responsible for scheduling and dispatch of the project's energy output once in operation. Staff has carefully reviewed the petition and believes that the addition of PSEG Renewable as an equity investor in the project brings significant experience and knowledge of New Jersey energy infrastructure to the project team that will help mitigate schedule risk and cost risk to New Jersey ratepayers. Staff also believes that the addition of PSEG Renewables to the project team will increase the project's access to energy marketing and hedging, which is important to optimizing the revenues that are credited back to ratepayers. Staff also notes that the petition expressly commits to following all applicable affiliate rules, which is critical to ensuring a level, competitive offshore wind industry. Staff recommends that the board approve the petition for PSEG Renewable to acquire a 25% equity interest in the Ocean Wind project, subject to all applicable orders, rules, and laws.
So moved.
Second.
In considering this petition, we're just taking another step and reaffirming the commitment of the administration of the goal of 7,500 megawatts of offshore wind by 2035. As Jim indicated, PSEG, we have to be careful, is a New Jersey-based company with experience and expertise in the development and operation of our electric system. I'll reiterate that this is PSEG Renewable, a subsidiary of PSEG Power. This is petitioning, is petitioning to acquire this ownership interest and not PSE&G, the public utility. Totally separate entities. Together, Ocean Wind and PSEG Renewable will work to develop a robust interconnection strategy that helps to mitigate the cost to taxpayers and ratepayers, keeps the project on schedule, and ensures a level and competitive industry for continued offshore wind development by committing to follow all applicable affiliate rules. The Ocean Wind project alone is expected to power roughly 500,000 homes, generate over $1 billion in economic benefits, and create an estimated 15,000 jobs over the life of the project. These are enormous economic benefits, and something I think that we all can be proud of as a board, as a state. I want to thank staff, and especially Jim Ferris, our Bureau Chief of New Technology, for their scrutiny in reviewing this and petition, for reviewing this petition, and for their dedication to the BPU mission and achieving our clean energy goals. It's much appreciated and much recognized. So thank you. Any other comments or questions for Jim? Roll call, please, Ada.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Chivukula,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
President Fiordaliso.
Yes. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Commissioners.
Stacy's making an encore appearance for item 8I.
How's my audio?
Good.
Okay, good. Yes, back to you again. So on this matter, staff presents to you its recommendation to award a contract to a consultant to serve as a statewide evaluator and oversee the evaluation, measurement, and verification, or EM&V, of New Jersey's next generation of energy efficiency and peak demand reduction programs. On December 16th, 2020, the board authorized staff to issue a request for quotations to solicit the professional services of a statewide evaluator to facilitate and lead the board's energy efficiency EM&V working group. The statewide evaluator will lead the development of an approach to EM&V, including guidelines, methods, inputs, and schedules that is robust, accurate, transparent, consistent, and replicable statewide. The statewide evaluator will ensure that this approach is applied to all state and utility administered energy efficiency programs and used to continually improve the design and delivery of energy efficiency programs in the state. Staff released the RFQ to 14 entities on January 6th, 2021, and posted addenda to the RFQ on January 14th and February 3rd that provided answers to questions by potential respondents. The following firms submitted RFQ responses by the deadline of February 25th. Johnson Consulting Group in association with Energy Infrastructure Partners, Mesa Point Energy, Michaels Energy, and Warren Energy. 2, Skumatz Economic Research Associates Incorporated, or SARA, in association with Ralph Prahl, independent consultant, Robert Wirtschafter of Wirtschafter Associates, Inc., Peter Jacobs of Building Metrics, Baker Gowans of Left Fork Energy, Jane S. Peters Advisors, and Michael Rufo, independent consultant. And the third firm was Tiara Resource Consultants in association with Loper Energy and Skytop Consulting. The evaluation committee, comprising members from the board's Division of Clean Energy, General Counsel's Office, and Division of Budget and Finance, utilized the board's standard internal review process for awarding outside contracts. The committee recommends that the board select SARA as a statewide evaluator of energy efficiency programs in New Jersey.
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments for Stacy?
Just comments that, this contract award is, very important to the state program and how we are going to be proceeding with energy efficiency, and, really need for them to, step up and do a great job for us, because those are the metrics we're going to use to be evaluating this program. They need to be independent, and looking forward to seeing what they put together in terms of, evaluating these programs. But, they're a vital participant in our program moving forward.
Indeed. Thank you, Commissioner. All right, seeing no other comments or questions, Ada, roll call, please.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Chivukula,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
President Fialiso.
Yes. And Stacy, as I mentioned at the beginning of the meeting, items 8J and 8K have been deferred and will be taken up at a future board meeting. So thank you for all your input today. Unless you're up later. That could be. Are you up later, Stace?
That's it for me.
Oh, okay. All right. I didn't want to throw you out so quick if you weren't done yet.
Appreciate it.
All right. That brings us to 8L and Ariane. Here you are.
Good morning.
Ariel, your audio is not working very well. We can hear you, but it's all crackly. You might want to just sign out and come back in.
Hi, is this better? Okay, perfect. I apologize. So good morning. Item 8L pertains to a report on community solar consolidated billing by the electric distribution companies. On October 2nd, on October 2nd, 2020, the board approved the program year 2 application form and process. In that order, the board directed the EDCs to work with staff to develop options to implement consolidated billing for community solar, including consideration of what is currently done by other state affiliates. The board ordered the EDCs to present actionable recommendations for consolidated billing implementation in a report to the board no later than February 26, 2021. On January 7th, 2021, in response to a motion for reconsideration of the October 2nd, 2020 order, the board clarified its directive to the EDCs, specifying that the EDCs should work with staff and ensure that the report consider multiple options for the implementation of consolidated billing and incorporate a robust stakeholder process. On February 22nd, 2021, the EDCs submitted a joint letter to the board secretary containing an update on the consolidated billing report and a request for an extension of time to submit the report. The letter states that the EDCs have been working diligently with board staff to draft a stakeholder notice, which includes stakeholder questions, seeking stakeholder input on consolidated billing for community solar, but that more time will be required to prepare a meaningful report. Accordingly, the EDCs collectively requested that the February 26, 2021 deadline for submission of the report be extended to May 28, 2021, in order to provide adequate time for stakeholder input and for the preparation of a detailed and informative report on consolidated billing. Staff and the EDCs have jointly issued a stakeholder meeting notice and request for comments. Thus, the notice was issued on March 11th, 2021. A stakeholder meeting on this topic is scheduled to take place tomorrow, March 25th, 2021, and written comments are due on April 9th, 2021. In light of the EDCs and staff's ongoing efforts and the complexity of the issue, staff recommends the board grant the requested extension of time for completion of the report to May 28th, 2021.
Moved.
Second,
Questions, comments for Ariane?
just a comment.
Sure.
As Ariane knows, this is a subject that I've, asked her about, mainly because in order for this program to operate successfully, we really need to deal with this issue. And, I'm satisfied that, this delay is, certainly in an effort to, move things forwards, not really hold things up. So, I know my staff will be participating tomorrow in that stakeholder meeting, and look forward to what you eventually come back to us with. What is that, in February, did you say? I mean, when did you say they will be getting back to us?
May 28th.
May, excuse me. Yeah, February, moving backwards, with a resolution. So look forward to that.
Mr. President,
Yes.
Ariana, what impact this is going to have? I mean, it's about 2 months, right? 2 month delay. Will that have an impact on the community solar program?
We don't expect it to. The idea at this point is that part of what's happening is staff is starting to prepare the transition to the permanent program for community solar. Pursuant to the Clean Energy Act, a permanent program must be established no later than February of 2022, which is starting to get closer, and we are starting to prepare stakeholder outreach on that issue. And so as part of the general transition, as part of the continued improvements to community solar, certainly staff feels, and we know that the board feels strongly about this issue, that consolidated billing is a key component of the community solar architecture. And so I think we're continuing to move the program forward with and seeking improvements as we go.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Roll call, Ada, please.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Chivukula,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
President Fiordaliso.
Yes. Yes. Thank you, Ariane.
Thank you.
And that brings us to Mr. Jackson. Ron, you were a busy guy.
Just a little.
Let's go to item 8M first.
Okay, 8M is Virginia Brown. And on November 21st, 2020, Virginia Brown, Ms. Brown, or the petitioner, filed a petition requesting the board deem her solar facility eligible for the Legacy Solar Renewable Energy Certificate, or SREC registration program, the SRP. The Clean Energy Act of 2020 mandated the board close the SREC market to new entrants upon the state's attainment of 5.1% of retail electricity sales from solar electricity generation. By order dated April 6, 2020, the board determined that the state would reach this milestone before May 1st, 2020, and directed the closure of the SRP effective on April 30th, 2020, on which date the SRP would be closed to new registrants. Projects in the SRP pipeline that had not commenced commercial operations by April 30th, 2020, or failed to submit their post-construction certification package in a timely manner would not be SREC eligible and would instead become eligible for the Transition Incentive Program. By order dated April 27, 2020, due to the COVID-19 and the governor's executive orders in response to the pandemic, the board waived certain of its rules to allow board staff and the SRP administrator flexibility in determining when projects would have commenced commercial operation for the purposes of establishing SREC eligibility. Specifically, in order to accommodate projects that would have achieved commercial operation by April 30th deadline, but for the pandemic effects on local code inspections and the EDC granting permission to operate, or PTOs, the board approved a narrow and time-limited waiver of the deadline for the SREC eligibility requirement. To retain this relief, the PTO waiver, registrants were required to submit the following to TRC, the board's SREC administrator, by July 30th, 2020. An affidavit from the project owner that failure to obtain the PTO was attributed to the COVID-related closure. Number two, an affidavit signed by a person with direct personal knowledge stating that the project was complete, but for final inspections or final permissions to interconnect to the grid prior to April 30th, 2020. Number three, date stamp pictures of array, inverter, and balance of system. Item four, date stamp evidence that the project's representatives attempted to communicate with local code officials, or if the project had been already passed a local code official inspections, evidence that the application to energize part 2 of the interconnection application was submitted to the EDCs. Number five, an executed milestone report form that reflects the status of the project, including the date the request for inspection was filed with the municipal officials, date of receipt of inspection approval, and date of submission of application to which the EDC. And finally, such other evidence as the board staff and or the SRP administrator may request. Although Mrs. Brown contacted TRC several times by email and telephone, she failed to follow the directions provided by the board for projects whose final inspections and PTOs were delayed by COVID-19 and the state emergency. She presented an explanation as to why she believes the public health emergency prevented the receipt of the PTO for the system prior to the cutoff date of April 30th, 2020, but she does not explain her failure to use the PTO waiver process established by the board and never filed a waiver petition with the SRP administrator. Staff notes that Mrs. Brown is eligible for the TI incentive, provided that she completes the TI paperwork requirements timely. She should qualify for the incentive available under this program. Over 1,200 PTO waiver requests were processed by TRC, with 26 of the waiver requests denied, and over 400 registrants that requested waivers were unable to meet the 5 requirements established by the board, and ultimately agreeing to accept registration in the TI program. Granting petitioners' requests for leniency with respect to the requirements of the April 27th order would be unfair to these 450 registrants that were also unable to comply. Staff recommends that the board deny this petition.
So moved.
Questions or comments for Ron on this item?
Mr. President, thank you, Mr. President. Ron, the number of waiver requests that we got pretty high. I mean, and most of them were approved, and only few of them were denied. And so I just wanted to make sure that we are doing the best we can and make sure that we are complied. We're looking for compliance with the rules we have set up. So, yeah, I understand that even though she communicated a number of times, but our dates were mixed up, looks like.
Yeah, she just didn't meet the requirements by the deadline. That's the reason why it was denied.
Any other questions or comments? Roll call, please, Ada.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Shivakola,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
President Fiordaliso.
Yes. And excuse me. That brings us to 8N, Ron. Now, this is a long one. How would you like to proceed here?
Okay, this involves Vision Solar that has actually submitted 14 petitions for their customers. So I understand I will have to later in the order, I guess, mention each one of the 14, but we don't have to read this 14 times. So.
Okay, and we take one vote.
Yes, that's correct,
Okay.
Ada. Right. Okay.
That is correct.
Okay. So on November 13th, 2020, Vision Solar LLC, Vision or the petitioner, a solar installer that participated in the legacy SREC registration program, submitted petitions for 14 of its projects seeking waivers of the board's requirement for maintaining eligibility in the SRP following the closure. All but one of these projects was accepted in the Transition Incentive Program. Again, the Clean Energy Act of 2018 maintained the board closed the SREC market to new entrants upon the state's attainment of 5.1 of electricity sales from solar electric generation. By order dated April 6, 2020, the board determined that the state would reach the milestone before May 1st, and it directed the closure of the SRP effective on April 30th, on which date the SRP would be closed to new registrations. Project in the SRP pipeline that had not commenced commercial operation by April 30th or failed to submit their post-construction certification package in a timely manner would not be SREC eligible and would instead be eligible for the Transition Incentive Program. In this case specifically, the board mandated that the access to the SRP portal be closed on the 91st day following the board's determination that the 5.1% milestone was attained. The board directed staff to require developers to complete SRP post-construction certification packages within 90 days of receipt of the permission to operate, or the board determination that the 5.1 milestone had been attained, whichever was earlier. Those projects that did not cure the deficiencies in their post-construction certification packages in a timely manner were held ineligible for SREC, regardless of the date of their PTO, and they were advised of the opportunity to register in the Transition Incentive Program. Vision submitted a petition dated November 13th on behalf of each of the 14 customers identified, and we'll identify those before we make the recommendation. In each petition, Vision indicated that the PTO was received prior to April 30th, 2020. Thus, by terms of the March 27th, 2020 order, each of these systems would be eligible to participate in the SRP provided its post-construction certification package was submitted within 90 days when the PTO was received. Vision did not submit the post-construction certification packages by the deadline. According to Vision, the volume of paperwork in conjunction with the need to work remotely was responsible for its failure to timely submit the missing information. Failure to provide such a small piece of information, and that's a quote, contend petitioners should not operate to exclude these projects from the SRP. In addition, Vision argues that each project was sold to a third-party owner, Vision partner IGC Solar on the basis of the pricing in the legacy program. For 13 of the 14 petitions, staff suggests the board urge the developer to complete the transition incentive registration process. For the project at the residence of Anthony Robinson, Vision did not submit the required documentation by the deadline established for TI eligibility. Staff therefore suggests the board encourage the developer to pursue eligibility for the project in the forthcoming successor incentive program. In conclusion, staff does not agree that an inaccurate technical worksheet is a small piece of information. The contents of the SRP post-construction certification package, including the technical worksheet, are required by rule at NJAC 14:8-2 K and L. Thus, staff recommends that the board refuse to waive the requirements to submit the post-construction packages to maintain eligibility and the SRP and deny the petition. And I'll read the petitions. I apologize in advance if I don't pronounce the name correctly. We have a Kyle Sawasik, we have a Lawrence Laduque, we have Kevin Devine, Lennis Kirschmeyer, Bernadette Ditsinger, Leonardo Lopez, Audrey Skanks, John Spears, Robert Steiner, Edward Strunk, Danielle Cullen, Tony Morse, Richard Garrett, and then finally, Anthony Robinson is the project that doesn't qualify for the IT and will given an opportunity to apply to the successor program.
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments for Ron?
Good work, Ron.
Amen. Ada, roll call, please.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Chivukula,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
President Fiordaliso.
Yes. And you have one more here, Ron.
Yeah, one more.
We're not letting you go any sooner than that.
Okay. Okay, this is Dr. Kowalik on September 23rd, 2020. Dr. Kowalik, the petitioner filed a petition requesting the board override the transfer of his solar project into the transition incentive program and return it to the legacy solar renewable energy certification SREC registration program, or SRP. Again, the Clean Energy Act mandated that the board close the market to new registrants upon the state's attainment of the 5.1% of electricity retail sales. And by order of April 6th, the board determined that the state would reach this milestone before May 1st and directed the closure of the program effective on April 30th, 2020, on which that date the SRP would close to new registrants. Projects in the SRP pipeline that had commenced commercial operation by April 30th, 2020 or failed to submit their post-construction certification package in a timely fashion would not be eligible for SRECs and would instead become eligible for the TI transition incentive program. And again, by order dated April 27, 2020, due to the COVID-19 and the government executive orders in response to the pandemic, the board waived certain of its rules to allow the board, staff, and the SRP administrator flexibility in determining when the project will have commenced commercial operation for the purposes of establishing SREC eligibility, specifically in order to accommodate projects that would have achieved commercial operation by April 30th, a deadline, but not for the pandemic effect on local code inspections and the EDC granting the permission to operate PTOs. The board approved a narrow time limited waiver of the deadline for the SREC eligibility requirements. Again, to attain this relief, the PTO waiver, registrants were required to submit following information to TRC, the board's SREC administrator, by July 30th. Again, affidavits that failed to attain the PTO was attributable to COVID-related closure, an affidavit signed by a person with the direct personal knowledge stating that the project was complete but for final inspection or the PTO. date stamp pictures of the system, date stamp evidence that the project representative attempted to communicate with local code officials, or if the project had already passed local code inspectors, evidence that the application to energize part 2 of the interconnection application was submitted to the EDCs, an executed milestone report form that reflects the status of the project, and any other evidence that they can present to the board or to the SRP administrator. In denying the petition PTO waiver request, TRC pointed to a failure to satisfy several of the requirements. An affidavit from a person with the direct personal knowledge that the project was all but complete. Number 2, evidence that the application to energize part 2 of the interconnection application was submitted to the EDC. And finally, an executed milestone report from form reflecting the date the request of the inspection was filed, the date the inspection approval was received, and the date the part 2 of the interconnection application was submitted to the EDCs. Staff agrees that TRC's assessment of the deficiencies in the documentation uploaded in the support of the PTO waiver request and believes that these deficiencies are the responsibility of the installer rather than of the petitioner. However, regardless of whose fault it is, the requirement for a PTO waiver were not satisfied. Again, over 1,200 PTO waiver requests were processed by TRC, with 26 of the waiver requests denied and over 400 registrants that requested waivers but were unable to meet the 5 requirements established by the board, and ultimately agreeing to accept registration in the TI program. Then granting the petitioner's request for leniency with respect to requirements of the April 27th order would be unfair to these 450 registrants that were also unable to comply. So staff recommends the denial of the petition.
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments for Ron?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. Ron, the small piece of information they're talking about is the serial number of the meter. They couldn't provide a photograph of the meter with showing the serial number. Is that?
No, it was actually more than that. She missed 3 of the 5 requirements, which involved affidavits, and she didn't provide evidence of the PTO and the inspections, and she didn't execute a milestone reporting form. So it wasn't just missing a serial number. It was 3 different things that were missing.
Okay, it's not a small piece, small pieces.
No, it wasn't a small piece.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? Roll call, Ada.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Chivukula,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
President Fiordaliso.
Yes. Ron, thank you for all this work.
Thank you.
All right, have a good one.
You too.
All right, Kelly, you're back up for 8P.
Yes, good morning again, Mr. President and Commissioners. Item 8P relates to a memorandum of understanding regarding the use of funds generated by the societal benefits charge to support the development of the offshore wind industry through the construction of a marshaling and manufacturing facility at the New Jersey Wind Port. The state's Energy Master Plan was released on January 27th, 2020, and set a goal of 100% clean energy by 2050, while outlining a strategy to expand the clean energy innovation economy in New Jersey through workforce training, investments in advancing clean energy, and the growth of world-class research and development. The EMP identifies the offshore wind sector to be central to accelerating the development of renewable energy and reinforces New Jersey's commitment to offshore wind. Executive Order Number 92 further expanded New Jersey's commitment by setting a target 7,500 megawatts of offshore wind by 2035. Critical to the development of offshore wind and attainment of 7,500 megawatts by 2035 is the anchoring and growth of an offshore wind industry, including manufacturing and marshaling, to ensure local supply chain development, as well as the efficient delivery of wind turbines to New Jersey lease areas. Not only will this bring tremendous economic benefits to the state through jobs and supporting business development, it is expected to help reduce the cost of meeting our clean energy goals while accelerating the delivery of renewable energy. The EDA and the BPU share a common interest in promoting the growth of offshore wind industry, which is necessary to achieving the governor's goals to make New Jersey into the premier hub for offshore wind development along the eastern seaboard and vital to the cost-effective and timely deployment of offshore wind in the state. The development of the New Jersey wind port for the purposes of offshore wind marshaling and manufacturing will bring hundreds of jobs to the region to support the state's burgeoning offshore wind industry. Marshaling ports are large waterside sites with acreage and weight carrying capacity necessary to assemble, store, and ship wind turbines out to lease areas. They're critical to meeting New Jersey's current and committed demand for offshore wind. The MOU between BPU and the EDA will enable the transfer of $13.2 million in funding, which will directly aid the development of the New Jersey wind port. The work funded would include completing the port's design as well as early steps of development such as site preparation and establishing a reliable power connection to the port. Staff proposes the board and the EDA enter into an MOU to support the development of a critical first of its kind marshaling and manufacturing facility to support New Jersey's growing offshore wind industry. Staff recommends the board approve the terms and conditions of the MOU and authorize the execution of the MOU by the board president.
So moved.
Second.
Kelly, first of all, I want to thank you for all of your efforts in shepherding this through. I know that there are sometimes little potholes as you go through these MOUs and so on. But it really is, we're talking about 200 acres in this wind port, which is a sizable amount of land, and really positions New Jersey to be the supply chain for the entire East Coast as far as wind is concerned. And as you said, the hundreds of jobs it's going to bring. The partnership between the BPU and EDA is another way we have worked collaboratively with our sister agencies to implement the recommendations of Governor Murphy's Energy Master Plan. The funding will contribute to activities essential to positioning New Jersey as the hub for offshore wind. So it's a very exciting project and a very exciting venture. And I'm glad that we as a board are able to be a part of that, because we may not be able to see the end results of all this, but it's going to make New Jersey a focal point in the wind industry down the road. So, any other comments or questions?
President?
Yes, sir.
I would like to just echo your comments. I think that New Jersey has the opportunity to become the nexus for the entire offshore wind industry along the mid-Atlantic, from Virginia to New York. And this wind port will be a critical element of that, and certainly a catalyst for a whole new industry in New Jersey. Very exciting opportunity, particularly now that we have an administration in Washington that is supportive of offshore wind and renewable energy generally, and about to launch a major infrastructure program. I think we've reached the point at which it's important to start talking with our counterparts in other states and with the new administration in Washington through the governor's office, and see if we can get this industry built on a regional basis, with New Jersey at the center, of course.
Of course. And it's interesting you mentioned that, Bob. The Department of Energy has already been in contact with us and very eager to be a part of this great adventure in energy generation off the coast.
If I could just, I'm sorry.
No, that's
Sorry,
all
go
right.
ahead. I mean, I would just add that I really think we're dealing with something akin to the interstate highway system. This is infrastructure that really calls for involvement by the federal government in establishing standards and benchmarks for all the states and a higher level of government that'll bring us all together. So the future is very exciting here.
It is. And we've already been in contact with BOEM as far as leasing and things of that sort. They are very anxious to work regionally, as you suggest. As a matter of fact, the new Secretary of Energy is going to have a roundtable discussion on offshore wind. And we may be a part of that roundtable discussion, which is going to be very exciting. So things seem to be moving in a positive direction relative to our wind industry. And we continue to lobby, as I mentioned at the beginning of the meeting, FERC commissioners regarding MOPR. And it is, again, I'm somewhat optimistic that all of them, all five, seem to be willing to take another look at MOPR and to make revisions or to rescind it. We'll see how that goes, but we're on top of that situation because it's vital to our clean energy program. So a lot of things are popping, and it's extremely exciting for all of us to be a part of it. I mean, it really is, and to represent the interests of the state of New Jersey and the goals that the governor has laid out for us. So very, very positive happening. So thank you. Any other comments? Yes, Commissioner.
President Fiordaliso, it's interesting what Bob Gordon has made the comparison to the interstate highway system. We're creating something that's never been done before, at least in this country. And we learn on the examples of the mistakes of Europe, but something that's never existed and it's going to add so much to this economy. I think that has to be stressed as much as what it's going to do for the clean energy aspects of this project. And that's one of the things that I was glad in the MOU that if there is money left over from this project, which I doubt there will be in this memorandum, that it at least be redeployed into the same project, because this is going to be a real hub for manufacturing. We can take it to the next level.
Yep, no question. And you hit the nail right on the head, Mariana. It's jobs, 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 which translates into an enhanced economic future. And what more can we ask for? Plus, we're doing something hopefully to save the planet. So to me, it's a win-win-win. A lot of wins there. All we have to do is keep our foot on the accelerator and make sure it happens. Any other questions or comments? Ada, would you please take the vote?
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Chivukula,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
President Fiordaliso.
Yes. And Kelly, you're wrapping it up with 8Q. We haven't been that high in the alphabet in clean energy for a while.
Yeah, alphabet soup for us today. Thank you,
Yes,
Mr.
sir.
President. I can officially say good afternoon. Thank you once again.
Yes, it is.
On March 1st, 2021, Jersey Central Power and Light Company filed a petition with the New Jersey Board of Public Utilities seeking approval to invest approximately $49.924 million. That is $16.2 million as capital expenditures and $33.2 million for operations and maintenance expenses over a 4-year period commencing January 1st, 2022 for an electric vehicle program. Staff recommends the board retain this matter for hearing at the board and designate a presiding commissioner. Staff further recommends that the board set a bar date of April 26th, 2021 for the filing of motions to intervene and or participate and for admission pro hoc vice.
Watch your language at the end there. Before,
moved.
before we
Oh.
vote on that, I was going to ask Commissioner Gordon if he would be the presiding commissioner here.
I would be honored. Thank you very much, Mr.
Thank
President.
you. Now you can move it.
I might withdraw that motion. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
So moved.
Any questions or comments for Kelly? Vote please, Ada. Roll call.
On the motion to approve staff's recommendation, Commissioner Holden,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Chivukula,
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
President Fiordaliso.
Yes, I want to thank certainly my colleagues, as always. I want to thank staff for all the work that was done to get this meeting agenda out and the many good things that we voted on today. So as usual, staff did a wonderful, wonderful job. And I'd also just like to reiterate what I started with in my opening remarks, wishing everyone who celebrates a happy Passover and everyone who celebrates Easter a happy Easter. Peace and take care of yourself and take care of one another. With that, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much.